Welcome. I'm Robin Graham, Director of PERC, and I'm thrilled to be here with Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, correction. And he is an internationally known author and original stem cell researcher from 1970s and has phenomenal ability to explain the micro activities of the DNA and how it impacts our life. So I've got a couple questions for you.
Yes, Robin.
One is, in the current business environment, we seem to have this clash going on between the old way of doing business, which is competition, competitive, dog-eat-dog world, and bureaucracy, top-down leadership, and then the new way of doing business that's trying to come in is more with supporting each other, co-creation, kind of the opposites. So one of the things that I've learned over the years from you is about the evolution of the cells and the evolution of the body. But you've also had a beautiful analogy with dinosaurs and old organizations and moving forward and how we need to be more flexible. So can you do a little explanation from your cell biology point of view and how that would impact business and the clash that we're seeing right now?
Well, the first thing that we really need to discuss is the nature of Darwinian evolutionary theory. And why is this relevant? Because our culture looks to science as a truth provider. If science says it's okay, then it's scientific, and if science questions it, then who knows?
Right.
Science has come to this very hard conclusion for the last couple hundred years almost now of Darwinian theory of evolution. And the Darwinian theory is based on the fact that, yes, evolution occurred, but what was the drive force for evolution? And Darwin himself was actually taking data from a man called Thomas Malthus. Thomas Malthus was a philosopher back in the late 1700s. And his school of philosophy is called the Pessimists. So you can already see that it's not a good story in the beginning. And Malthus came up with the concept that in agriculture, plants grow in trying to farm them. Increasing the yield is called arithmetic, meaning if a farmer harvests a bushel of wheat this year and he works really hard, next year maybe he'll have 2 bushels of wheat. And in the third year, if he works really hard, maybe he'll get 3 bushels. So it's a slow incremental increase in agriculture. But in contrast, Malthus talked about the fact that when animals breed, they double. So first you start with 2 animals, then you have 4 animals, then you have 8 animals. And what you start to see is this. Well, agriculture, which supports the animals, grows very, very slowly arithmetically. Animal reproduction is called geometric. It keeps doubling and doubling and doubling. Well, there's a point here, and the point is this. Animals need the agriculture to feed on. And as more and more animals are being produced, there's less and less food. And the result is called competition. And so Darwinian theory used that concept to talk about evolution's drive force as competition. And it's actually not friendly competition. It is the survival of the fittest in the struggle for life. Well, that's a whole theory based on the individual. The individual fittest. What about the second fittest? Oh, that's not relevant. Third fittest, they're not relevant. We only talk about the individual. So there's a belief that our whole evolution is a struggle to compete, who's going to be the fittest one, and the winner. Well, it turns out this is completely false in regard to the nature of evolution. Evolution is now recognized to be the result of cooperation and community. And all of a sudden they say, well, why is that relevant? Well, if I have an individual that says, who cares about everybody else? It's me only, and that's the world that we live in. I want me. I don't care about other people. This is antagonistic to evolution. Evolution is strictly based on the cooperation and community. And this really changes the name of the game, because then it says, well, how does the business fit in? I say, well, is the business a Darwinian business that says I'm competing to kill the competition? Or is it the newer version? It's actually a Lamarckian evolution, where the environment is influencing the action of the individuals, and the environment is telling us that cooperation and community is the whole thing. And so when you have a business whose based on is ruthless competition to finish the competitors in the race and win, I said, well, man, that's totally antagonistic to evolution. And in fact, the original definition of competition in the original Latin was to strive together. Okay, and
We've missed that one.
Oh, well, that's where it started out. And competition works in this sense. For example, if I did play tennis, and I don't, and I wasn't a very good player, who would I play against? And the answer is I would play against someone better.
Right.
Why? Because that competition will encourage me to be a better player. If I played against somebody less capable, I don't prove anything to myself. It just says, oh, clumsy Bruce can beat the other clumsy person. Okay? So the nature of really what's coming down here is very important, is competition meant to work together to create the benefit for everyone, not I win, you lose.
Right.
And that's the unfortunate situation. Right. So we have to change the whole worldview. And it is changing. There are conscious corporations stepping into the fold, and their whole foundation is quite different. One of my heroes in this is Elon Musk of Tesla. Now, he had all the patents on that beautiful car that he makes, the Tesla, and what did he do is he turned the patents over to the public. What was the point? He said, if I give it to the public, well, other competitors are going to use it. And he says, yeah, but they'll make it better.
Fascinating.
You see, so he wasn't concerned that I only have to have the patents, because if I give it to them, they'll even improve on what I did. And the whole idea was improvement to make the end.
Right.
So a business like that is in harmony with evolution and the planet. But any business that is cutthroat, that drives out the competition, is actually antagonistic to evolution and is destructive in the long run. It doesn't work this way at all.
Right. And so, thank you. And we need to move organizations, the ones that are on that cusp of understanding conscious business and understanding to help others, those are beautiful, and we need to help raise them up. Is there anything that we can do to help the other ones come along, or are they just going to die off as the new generation comes in?
Well, people vote with money. That's the bottom line. If you buy something from an industry, you are supporting that industry. If we start to find that industries are really not supporting us, then it really is up to the public to say, do we want to encourage this business or not? And if we don't, then it's like, oh, well, then we should find that person or that entity that is really providing for everyone and not just taking it all in. And so we're on that verge of trying to figure that out. But we've had this old model since Darwin, and it's hard because it's a concrete structure in our world. But as we look at the world, the structure is coming down at this very moment.
It's falling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because there's a very simple fact that we have to deal with, and that is this. We are facing what is called the 6th mass extinction of life on this planet. 5 times in the history of this planet, life was thriving, and then some event catastrophically wiped it out. From 70 to 90% of life just got wiped out. We are in the 6th mass extinction. And what's unique about it is that the previous ones were due like comets hitting the Earth or tectonic plate activity, stuff like that. It turns out that human behavior is precipitating the 6th mass extinction. And that means that we are not living in harmony with nature. And to live in harmony with nature, then you have to understand that's not just as us as individuals, but it is corporations that support the community. If they're not working for the community and only working for themselves, that's antagonistic to evolution. So it says, to get us out of this mass extinction, we have to change consciousness. And the old Darwinian theory of survival of the fittest, which is a terror, because it leads to competition, but then competition turns to violence, and then violence turns into war, and then we're competing like this, and it turns out that is not evolution, that is anti-evolution. And since we are on the threshold of extinction, it's time for us to change the course and to learn to live in harmony with nature. There are patterns, and when you understand the patterns, then we can use those patterns to adjust our life. What's very interesting is that a human body is comprised of 50 trillion cells. The average individual cell has every function that a human has: reproduction, respiration, digestion, excretion, muscle and skeletal, and even an immune system. Relevance for my way of translating this is that a cell is the equivalent of a miniature human. And I say, well, if we look inside a human body, there's 50 trillion cells. And I go, when a human body is in health, It reflects the cooperation of a community of 50 trillion citizens. And we should look at this because there's an economy, there's an exchange of energy and the equivalent of money. They work together. Resources, all shared. And it's interesting because each organ system is the equivalent of a business. So there's the heart business. That's the first business to arise where cells take on a job. But taking on a job, specializing, means that they're not going to be doing some other job.
They're
which
depending
means
on
they're
somebody
depending on
else.
the other one.
Right.
So when you start to look at the nature of the community in the human body and recognize each organ system is a corporation, so to speak.